Hi guys, so I'm just going to do a little bit on parallel processing with you guys. This is a session of a band I recorded a couple of years ago. It's a big session and my computer keeps crashing while doing the screen capture, so I'm going to try and make it as simple for the computer as possible, and hope it doesn't crash, and then I'll show you what I did. So I was going to show the mixer, but I think it's struggling with that, so I'm just going to play it and hopefully you can hear this section and then I'll explain what I did. Whoops. Okay, there we go. But you got the idea. So I'm just going to go through things individually now. I just can't cope at all. You can see here, I'm running a lot of tracks. I've got drums here. Look at all this. All has different amounts of processing on it. And then all of these are bus sends for my final processing. So there's a lot going on here. I mean, this is a big project. It took me quite a long time to do. We recorded the drums, I think, in December, and then recorded other bits throughout the year. I think I had it finished end of August maybe. It took a long time, but I had to wait for them to come in and do overdubs and all that kind of stuff, so it took a while. We didn't record it all in one go. Anyway, so what I've done here, all of pretty much the whole mix is mixed down to buses, so all the guitars are on this bus. Bass. DI bass, by the way, not using an amp. Then I've got some other things going on. So the snare track, if we go up over here, has quite a lot of processing on it. So I've got the snare going to bus 3 and bus 8. So on bus 3, I've got a gated reverb on the snare. So that's this, and there's also got some extra processing to make it sound quite fat. So I've taken the low end out on the EQ. I've then got the little plate, so plate reverb. Then got Decapitator, which is a saturation plugin which distorts it, which is just filthy, which is lovely. Sound toys. I've got a DBX 160 compressor on top of that, and I've gated it. So that's just on the reverb for the snare channel. Then I've also got them going to bus 8. So this is a saturation channel for the snare. So it's parallel processing because I'm blending this in with the original. So you've got the original going to main output, and then you've got elements of that original snare going to these different buses, and then I'm adjusting level to taste. So that's kind of got some like low end saturation in it. So I've got, again, Decapitator on it, giving it some gain. And then I've got a Waves reverb on there as well, giving it a bit more. So I've got quite a lot of reverbs going on the snare, but it's slow, sludgy, heavy metal, so you can get away with that. It's quite nice. And then I've also got another compressor with an EQ and kind of this is like a kind of an EQ. It's like a low end and a high end boost. And then obviously I've trimmed them to gain stage them afterwards. So got those as well. On the drum verb, I've got kick and toms going to it. Just kind of a nice little sort of gated room, which is quite nice. Just adds a little bit of depth to it. What else have I got going on here? On the vocal bus, all the vocals go to one bus, and then they've got saturation added, a little bit of chorus added. The Aphex Aural Exciter, which is a saturator, and a bus compressor. So that's just controlling the overall levels, because on the individual vocal channels, I think I compress the vocals when I track them, so that was already there. I've also got some vocal effects, because in this section the vocalist was just making weird kind of groany noises, and I put loads of weird delay on it. On their own, they'll sound really strange. But when you add it into the mix, it's quite cool. And then my CPU can't handle it. If I turn the master processing off, it might just be able to handle it. So let's see what happens. Okay, so all the master and processing's off here, so this is just the pre-master. Obviously I'm pushing the volume up so you can hear it. It's going to peak the output fader. Obviously I wouldn't do that when I was bouncing it down. It's just to show you. So I can play this now and take off my parallel processing, and you can hear the difference it makes. So let's see. So if I turn off the... Oh, also I've got all the drums going through this saturation bus as well. Oh no, this is just kicks and toms, but they're also going through this FabFilter Saturn, which is like a saturated distortion, like an old tape machine, and their bus compressed too, quite heavily, like very aggressively. So we had a very fast, quite fast release on here, and a medium attack, just to give it a little punch. So if I turn that bus off, the snare smash bus off, the snare saturation bus off, and the drum verb off, this is what the drums sound like without those buses applied. And then if I turn them back on, massive difference. So all of this bus processing is really pushing up my drums. So parallel saturation, sending your snare, kick, whatever to a bus, and then blending the volume of that bus into taste with the original. Parallel processing is a big part of what I do. You can hear here, obviously, and with this, it's worth mentioning, with this, there's no triggering going on here. These are all the real drums. I've done no sample replacement or anything. I think I did on some songs. I had to do a little bit of timing fixing, but not badly. Drummer's pretty tight to the click. So I've used parallel processing to make those drums punchier. Didn't need sample replacement in this one. So that's kind of how parallel processing has enhanced this mix, made it sound nicer. At the same time, having everything on one bus is just so useful. So, with the bass here, I recorded the bass over 2 tracks. I also had, it's a DI, a SansAmp DI, and I had it split over 2 different, I think I had the SansAmp DI on this one, and then I think I had a clean DI on this one, and then I just sent them both to bus 9 and I blended them, and then they both tracks arrive here, and there on here I put on again some compression, some tape saturation, and distortion without. Now again, I'm not using Logic plugins, but you can achieve similar results with the Logic plugins. Okay, so a little bit of saturation, distortion on bass. If it's rock, it just sounds lovely. I guess that's genre specific as well, but you can just see how much of a difference the parallel processing makes. Again, experiment with side chaining. So, side chaining, a compressor from the kick or something like that, and it'd be good to have some evidence of a bit of side chaining being used. But yeah, that's sort of parallel processing here. Sorry, I couldn't play it with all the processing on, but my old Mac can't cope anymore, which is quite sad. It's another reason why I had to bounce them out and mix them in separate sessions, because there's so much going on here. But when you look at it, look how many plugins I got running. It's pretty mental. The fact that without the mastering processing on, this machine can handle it. It's pretty cool considering how old it is. But also worrying that I'm probably gonna have to buy a new one soon. Anyway, there you go. That's some parallel processing for you. Just gives you an idea of the difference it makes.